If you're an author or plan to be one, get excited because this podcast is for you. Book Marketing Mentors is the only podcast dedicated to helping you successfully market and sell your book. If you're ready for empowering conversations with successful marketing mavens, then grab a coffee or tea and listen in to your host, international best-selling author Susan Friedmann.
Welcome to Book Marketing Mentors, the weekly podcast where you learn proven strategies, tools, ideas, and tips from the masters. Every week, I introduce you to a marketing master who will share their expertise to help you market and sell more books. Today, my special guest is Patricia Viscount. Patricia is a natural storyteller whose journey began with bedtime tales for her sisters. Patricia has worn many hats, including serving as an officer in the Canadian Army and working as a communications specialist in the energy sector. She's a master at turning complex jargon into clear, compelling messaging. Whether it's website content, email campaigns, or brand strategy, service providers turn to Patricia for her creative flair and strategic insights. She's passionate about helping businesses boost their SEO, highlight their unique edge, and gather powerful testimonials that drive results. And when she's not working her magic with words, you might find her scuba diving or planning her next travel adventure. Patricia, and it's absolute pleasure to welcome you to the show and thank you for being this week's guest expert and mentor.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I just love it. And you are in Canada. We always love talking to our Canadian friends.
Yes.
One of the things that I know, and I said it in the intro, that you are such a pro at, and that is email marketing. When I talk to authors and I ask them about their marketing, the first thing they usually say is, well, I've got X thousand people on social media. When I ask them about their own list, they're like, well, what's a list? So let's talk about social media and why authors rely so much on that versus doing email marketing. What are they missing out by not doing email marketing?
Excellent question, Susan. Thank you for that. We can chat a little bit about both of those things, both sides of that coin. First one is the limitations of social media for book sales. And then on the opposite side is the power of email marketing for authors. Even if you have a large engaged following for your social media posts, authors believe that people just know. They just know them. They just trust them from the posts. But how many people are actually seeing that post? Unless you get really good analytics, you don't know how many people of your followers are actually seeing the post. That's one of the limitations of the social media, because often your posts are only being shown to a small fraction of your followers. The second one is that you don't have any direct control because the platforms, as we know over the last several years, algorithms change. They change policies, they restrict content, they ban accounts, or they get hacked. You don't really have any direct control over who sees it and the people that are seeing your content. The third thing is short content lifespan. As you know it, when you're death scrolling, you see a post and then 10 seconds later, it's second or fifth or 10th. You don't really see it for long, whereas emails stay in people's inboxes. So they decide, I've seen it, I've read it, I've interacted with it, I can delete it, I can send it to another folder, etc. But those are kind of the most important limitations for social media on the book sales.
Yes, you bring up a really good point with the algorithms and how they just decide in the spur of the moment, or it seems that way, because we find out that algorithms have changed and all sorts of interesting things have happened with social media. And we've had instances where they've gone on offline for one
Right.
reason or another, and people panic. Oh my goodness, because they've put their whole energy and their whole business almost is reliant on this social media interaction. How can we get authors to pay more attention to the email marketing side and make that the priority versus social media?
I think even just looking at the power of email marketing and comparing the two, you're much more personalized. The personalization within an email list is huge because you can ask questions. And obviously, you can do that with social media, but people are way more engaged. They're much more engaged with emails. You don't really know on one social media post. You don't know how many people are seeing it, how many people are reading it, unless, with the likes and comments. Whereas with emails and email systems, you can see how many people opened the email. You can see how many people clicked it. You have analytics that can drive what you do and how you do it. If you ask a question and people say, what do you want to hear from? Do you want to hear my writing process? Do you want to hear just who I am as a person as opposed to an author? That kind of thing. You can really be personalized with your list and engage with your list on a one-to-one basis. Because some people within social media might be a little shy and they're just lurking. They read it, but they don't ever engage. Whereas they feel safer with an email because it's just you and I having a conversation.
Yeah, that's a good point, that personalization. Now, let's say that an author either has a very small list of their own and high following on social media, or they don't have a list at all and have a great following on social media. How do they start converting people? How do they engage people so that they can get their email address and start email marketing rather than concentrating on the social media?
There are several different ways. This way is one of the good ways. Talking to people, getting on podcasts, offering things for people. We call them lead magnets, offering something for free or for a small amount of money that gets people interested and will allow them to give you their email address. It's special perks or personalization that you only get if you're on my email list. Obviously, if you're talking about posting, it's send me your email and I'll send you this thing, or join the conversation in over here. I just send me your email, that kind of thing. So it's fairly simple, but most of the time it does start with some kind of lead magnet or some kind of giveaway that entices them to give you their email list or their email address.
Now, are there some lead magnets that you've seen that work better than others?
Some lead magnets that work better than others are video content, tips and tricks, or a discount if you're looking for something specific. Get the first chapter of my new book, but you have to send me your email, or that kind of thing, like something that gives them a VIP treatment, something that makes them feel special. That's the kind of thing that really works well.
I found checklists. For some reason, people love checklists.
That does work, especially if you're trying to talk to people about health and wellness or professional development or something like that. People are starting to move away from PDFs, but they still work really well depending on who your audience is. But a short Loom video talking about those checklists and then giving the checklist as part of the video, like those things really work well as well, but they have to be short. Like the videos can't be a 15-minute video. It has to be like a 3-minute video. Let's walk through the checklist that I'm about to give you, that kind of thing. So it has to be useful information and easy to download, easy to use and engage with.
Yeah, and I think those are important words, the fact that it's useful, it's something practical. That's what people are looking for. Is it going to help me now? And is it easy? I mean, people
Yes.
always want to press that easy button. Something I know that you're a real expert in, and that is brand voice. Now, I'm going to have you explain what that is to our listeners so that we're all on the same page before we delve into that subject.
Excellent. This really lights me up. I love talking about brand voice because it's so important. It's fundamental to how you show up. Basically, your brand voice is literally how you show up, how you communicate across all of your platforms, your LinkedIn posts, your in-person conversations, your emails. Everybody knows as soon as they see a piece of your content that that is you. If you like emojis or your language is a little saltier or you're professional and polished is how I like to say it, depends on your personality and it depends on who your audience is. But it's being consistent across all of your platforms, using the same words, the same phrases, the same sentence length, all of those things all together create your brand voice. And it's how people know, like, and trust you so that they know when they see your posts, when they see you on a stage talking about your book, or when they see you in an email, it's exactly how they think you're going to show up. And they say, I align with that. I align with those values. I align with that tone of voice. And so that's what makes them your raving fans, is by showing up consistently and just having that vibe, I guess, is a good word for it as well.
And the authenticity that it's really you.
Exactly.
And, I mean, I've had this, people say, well, I listen to your podcast, and then they come on, we do a meeting either on the phone or on Zoom, and they say, oh, you sound just like you are on your podcast. And I was like, yep, that's me.
And that's the beauty of it, because it should be effortless. We're just having this conversation and you can take this onto LinkedIn and it's the same voice. It's the same you. It's the same Susan, and people love that. And then, like I said, they know, like, and trust you, and they feel like, yes, she's going to help me with my challenges. She's going to help me with my situation right now. And that's the biggest compliment somebody can give you is, oh, you sound exactly the way I was picturing.
That's fascinating. And you said something too that I had never thought about, but the words that you use and the consistency of the same kind of languaging and even the sentence structure, I'd never thought about that as a brand voice.
It's interesting because a lot of people, it's subconscious. They read things that you put out and something's off. I don't know what it is, but something's off. And it's interesting because, again, talking back about social media, I've had several colleagues get hacked. So the first problem is that right away, all of their followers, the likes, all of that is gone because oftentimes you can't get it back. And if people, they don't know that you've been hacked, but you get an email, you know how that is when you get a message or something from your friend and it says, oh, they ask you something crazy or something that just doesn't fit. And you think immediately, this doesn't sound like Susan. This doesn't sound like Patricia. What's wrong? What happened? That is the power of brand voice.
Yeah. And again, that also helps in terms of email marketing. And that's a plus for the email marketing because that's not as likely to happen in an email marketing situation.
Exactly. And the email you can send, again, as I mentioned earlier, you have that one-on-one conversation. You're not talking one to many and hoping something lands, like that throwing spaghetti on the wall kind of thing. It's We are having a conversation. I know through your replies or your responses to my emails what really counts, what really matters to you. And we can have that personalized conversation that builds that know, like, and trust.
Yeah. Now, I know that often authors think about how to write these emails without sounding salesy. That word salesy, they're so frightened of maybe promoting themselves too much so that it sounds salesy. What kind of advice could you share with us on that?
Thank you for that. That's a really great question, because what happens in a content strategy, let's say for an email campaign or a nurturing sequence, that kind of thing, we have pillars. So it's not just sell, sell, sell. It's let's talk about myself. Let's talk about how I got here. Let's talk about what my process is as an author. Let's talk about why I love doing the things that I do. You can talk about personal stories. You can talk about book-related content. You can talk about your process. You can talk about the physical process of writing a book. I start my mornings doing this. It doesn't always have to be salesy, but there has to be a balance, obviously, because you do want to sell books. You mix all of that content, and in your content strategy or your calendar, you could say, okay, this week I'm going to talk about something that's important to me. Next week, I'm going to talk about a book-related process thing. The next week, I'm going to talk about the physical writing a book. So people get to see you not as a one-dimensional author, but as a person who is selling books, who is solving problems, who has the same issues as I do. It's way more complex, I guess. In the same instance, it's easier because then you don't have to think, okay, how do I sell my book this week? People just get that. And then on the bottom, you can say, oh, by the way, my book is being launched, or look out for my next chapter, or I'm coming to your town on my book tour, that kind of thing. So it's about mixing up the different kinds of content and not always being that hard sell.
Yes. And it reminds me, I worked with Donald Miller. He's got his book, Brand.
Yes.
And he talks about that too, the sequencing, that first you give some tips. You share something useful that will help your reader. And maybe it's even the third email before you even mention the thought of, oh, by the way, I've got a 3-week program if you're interested. And it can be in the PS. And PSs, talk to us about PSs. The power of the PS, the postscript at the end of your letter, your communication.
Yes. It's interesting because I don't know TLDR. So I'm not sure whether you've ever noticed those series of letters on the bottom of an email, TLDR.
Tell us what that means. I've not seen that.
Okay. So it's too long, didn't read. So if you go on and on and on about something and people lose interest, it's like, okay, you've either sold me in paragraph 1, or I don't have time to read this long email or whatever. The too long didn't read at the bottom is the new PS. So basically it's give me what you're trying to tell me in this email above. What is in it for me and what action do I need to take? That is the beauty of the PS, because it really is, if I don't have time, what am I getting? What do I need to know about this email? Is my book is coming out. I'm going to be in your city in May. Come see me, book signing, whatever it is. Or this is my course. It's coming out. It's $9.99 or whatever. So the power of the PS is very important. The other thing you can do is how to work with me. So my book is coming out, but I'm also a coach. I can do one-on-one. I've got a group program that can be in the PS as well. So yes, I've convinced you in my email to take action. How are you going to take action? The PS can be how you work with me. The PS can be limited only by your imagination.
Just limited by your imagination. Talk to us about mistakes that you see authors make when writing emails.
One of the biggest mistakes is being too long. We have in emails, it's called the rule of one. You are talking to one person and you are talking about one thing. Really trying not to boil the ocean with all of the things. And that's where a good content strategy comes in, or a content calendar, because you don't feel the need to put everything in the one email. It's like, okay, I want to talk about this one thing to this one person today. And it can often be, they talk about writing to your grandmother or writing to your mother. When I was in the army and I was in Bosnia or Kosovo, it's like, how do I write a letter home? What is the one thing that, you want to talk about everything and you want to talk to everybody, but you write a letter to your mother and tell her some of the things that you're doing, or one thing that you're really proud of.
I love that. The rule of one. Mm-hmm.
The rule of one reader, one topic. Another one is that you always talk about the same thing. You're always trying to sell. You're always trying to sell, as opposed to using those content pillars where you talk about the book, and then you talk about you, and then you talk about a client's success story or something like that, so that people see that three-dimensional person behind the emails, behind the book.
Sometimes people are reluctant to share personal information. They feel that it's got to be only about the book or only about business.
I see that being more of a concern, for me anyway, on social media, because you don't know who's consuming your content, who's reading your stuff. But with the email, theoretically, it's a safe space, because these are the people that have asked to be on your list, or that you've done work with. So they're on your list because they trust you and they've already taken a course or something like that. So you can relax a little, because obviously people buy from people. People don't buy from a business. You want to be able to get a little bit personal to be able to grow that know, like, and trust factor, so that people can buy from you. They feel safe buying from you, because it goes back to the brand voice, because they know you, because they feel like they can trust you.
Yeah, and often authors hide behind the book and are fearful sometimes of coming out in front and, hey, yes, it's my big fat business card showing you that I'm an expert in this subject. It's like they're relying on the book to do the sales for them. Patricia, this is a great segue for you to tell our listeners how they might be able to find out more about you and the services you offer, especially with regard to brand voice, which I'm totally fascinated with.
LinkedIn is my preferred platform of choice. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. It is Patricia Viscount. Viscount is spelled with an S, so Viscount. And my website is not very imaginative, I know, for such a creative person. It's www.patriciaviscount.com.
And we'll put that in the show notes.
Yes.
That'll be an easy one.
Yes, exactly, hopefully.
Well, you've got one of those names that's memorable. I mean, I think of sort of royalty when you think of a Viscount. I think that's very much in your favor.
Had the name for the last 56 years. I'm kind of used to it now, but I do really love my name. I've been married twice and I still haven't taken my husband's name, because I do love my name.
Hang on to it, because people will remember it. That's often hard, though, for people to remember a name, and again, especially if it's tough to spell, like Friedmann. And I like that, and it's memorable. As you know, Patricia, I guess always leave listeners with a golden nugget. What's yours?
I want people to think of their email list as a long-term investment in their business and their author career, in themselves. And I think that sending at least one email per month to stay connected with your audience, to remind them that you have expertise and knowledge to share with them, and that you are an author that can help them. I think that is really my tip.
Yeah, it's a great one. Reminding people that you are an expert in this area, and that's why you wrote the book. And so how can they get value from you, your expertise, and the book?
Outside the book, too.
And outside the book, yes.
The book is here and it's a finite piece, and the launch is a finite time or area and time. But you as a person, your experience and your knowledge and your support is evergreen. You can help them whenever. And so that is the importance of the email and just contacting your list.
Yes. And interestingly enough, I'm pleased you brought that up, because frequency is such an important point with regard to email, deluging people's email inbox with your messages and sort of honoring that list.
Yes. And if I could say just one more thing, and I know that we're talking about social media, not necessarily versus email, but it really can amplify. You can send emails and social media posts. You can use your social media posts to drive people to your email, and vice versa. If you write blogs or if you talk about things on your website, you can use both of them. It doesn't have to be an either or, it can be an and as well.
And I like to be able to do that on a fairly regular basis. I got your endorsement on that. I like it. Thank you. You've been amazing, Patricia. Thank you. Some great tips. That rule of one is my highlight. I appreciate you sharing your wisdom. And listeners, if your book isn't selling the way you wanted or expected to, let's you and I jump on a quick call together to brainstorm ways to ramp up those sales, because you've invested a whole lot of time, money, and energy, and it's time you got the return you were hoping for. So go to bookmarketingbrainstorm.com to schedule your free call. And in the meantime, I hope this powerful interview sparks some ideas you can use to sell more books. Until next week, here's wishing you much book and author marketing success.